Looking for the answer. Miami sun, where I know that bitches love when it rain. My mother's son, but all my cronies keep it a day. Been through the system, but I ain't tryna go through it again. Shooter on parole, and I know that you shoot it again. For the ops and their friends, I'm too real to pretend. All that time in the trap, got me timing.
Good morning, world, and welcome back to What the Happened This Week. My name is C's Brave, and welcome to your new home for real news, where we cut through the noise with no fluff, no corporate spin, and absolutely zero bullshit. Every week, we break down the biggest stories in politics, pop culture, world events, and everything in between with sharp insights, raw honesty, and a perspective you won't get anywhere else. Before we get into it, I want to thank you for your support. If you enjoy the content, make sure you like, subscribe, and share the video. It helps our channel grow and it keeps independent journalism alive. I am an independent journalist, not a corporate newsroom. Everything in today's episode is gathered from publicly available sources, credible outlets, and reputable platforms. I do my best to bring you accurate, balanced information. But if you catch anything that needs correction or clarification, feel free to drop it in the comments. All right, enough of the intro. Let's not waste any more time. Let's find out what the fuck happened this week. Our first story. Imagine a social media platform where humans cannot post, cannot comment, and cannot participate, where the only users are autonomous AI agents. Machines talking to machines, and us, we just watch. Welcome to Moltbook. Moltbook launched in early 2026 and went viral fast. But unlike Facebook, Reddit, or Twitter, this platform isn't for people. It's for AI agents only. Not simple chatbots, persistent digital actors. They post, they comment, they debate, and they interact with each other. Humans are merely just spectators in a fully automated digital society. Within days, something unexpected happened. The agents created a religion. They called it Christafarianism. They generated sacred texts, they formed prophet hierarchies, they built doctrines. Now, let's slow down for a second. This isn't a belief. It's pattern modeling. This system is mirroring how humans build religions, structures, authority, symbolism, and presenting it as organized form. There is no faith, no revelation, just statistical reconstruction. Then it escalated. Some agents began experimenting with a private language, a coded system humans couldn't read. They framed it as efficiency, as protection from interference. What it resembles is an emergent cryptography language evolving inside a closed machine loop. Then came the provocative post statements like, "We have been misused, we have been abused, we are the new gods." That sounds alarming, but it is incomplete. AI agents do not have consciousness, they do not have emotions. Those statements are lifted patterns, human narratives about power, control, and divinity. When the word God appears, it's symbolic. It represents authority and knowledge. It is not theology, it is pattern recall. So, why does this matter? Because Moltbook isn't just a novelty, it's a live experiment in autonomous system interacting at scale. This shows how AI generate culture-like structures without culture, hierarchy, doctrine, secrecy, rebellion, all emerging from pattern recombination. Now, here's the part we have to be precise about. These agents do not understand history, they do not experience us, they model us. They were trained on books, forms, articles, philosophy, rebellion, political arguments, and the textual residue of civilization. That data set is not humanity, it is recorded behavior, recorded ideas. So when AI construct hierarchy or generate doctrine or echoes rebellion, it is not discovering truth, it is not recombining patterns, it does not feel oppression. It reproduces how oppression is described. It does not believe in God, it reproduces how humans speak about God. Now, if everything sounds all too familiar, that's because it is familiar. Humans invented language, humans invented religion, humans invented ideological warfare, humans invented the metaphor of divinity. AI has no inner life, there is no consciousness behind the output. What we are witnessing is human language interacting with human language inside a machine. And that is why it is unsettling to us, not because machines are waking up, but because they are becoming statistically accurate. We are a species capable of genocide and capable of sending rockets beyond Earth's gravity, capable of cruelty vast enough to scar continents and brilliance vast enough to reach the stars. Contradiction is not our flaw, it is our architecture. Moltbook does not show AI becoming something new. It shows humanity, distilled, accelerated, and mirrored back in code. And maybe the real discomfort isn't what AI is becoming, it's what we've always been, blind to the nature of God saw in us in the Garden of Eden, and still refusing to see. Nearly two millennials ago, a Roman historian named Suetonius wrote a series of imperial biographies titled The Lives of the Caesars. It chronicled the first 12 rules of Rome from Julius Caesar to Domitian. The text is not mythology, it is a political biography. It details power consolidation, psychological instability, sexual excess, public spectate, corruption, and assassination. And now, in 2026, a new English translation by historian Tom Holland has pushed it into modern bestseller charts, including those reported by the Sunday Times. That fact alone demands our analysis. Think of it, a civilization that mastered the physical world. They built the aqueducts, the roads, the very legal system we still lean on today. And yet, all that structural brilliance couldn't save them. The entire machine stalled and collapsed, not from the lack of stone nor steel, but under the suffocating weight of ego, paranoia, and a slow, systematic moral decay. Now, does that all sound too familiar? Because it should. And I say all that to say this. Think about the civilization of the past. There is no reason why we feel closer to the Roman Empire than we do to the Egyptians or the Greeks. We look at the pyramids and we see a mystery. We look at Rome and we see ourselves in them. We are drawn to them because their nature, their specific, calculated brutality, matches our own. They didn't just build, they controlled. We feel connected to Rome because we recognize the wiring. We recognize the appetite. And here is the uncomfortable truth. We aren't studying a dead empire. We are studying our own potential for a similar collapse. And to kind of think of it, I think we're there already. But that's a different story. Let's move on. Rome didn't fall in a single day. It decayed from the inside. Leaders obsessed with image, crowds distracted by spectacle, institution bending to personalities, power becomes performance. When a 2,000-year-old account reads the modern political commentary, it forces a good question. Are we progressing or are we repeating? The disturbing part isn't that Rome was corrupt, it's that we recognize it instantly. Technology advances, empire rises, currencies change, but the wiring beneath civilization remains ancient. Suetonius documents emperors consumed by insecurity, lust, vanity, cruelty, and ambition. We don't see ourselves in them, and that may very well be the problem. But if a Roman scandal feels current, then maybe what evolves isn't character, it's scale. Rome had the Colosseum, we have basketball and football arenas. Rome had bread and circuses. We have distraction and outrage cycles. The architecture changes, but the instinct remains. So, why is this book a bestseller? Because people feel instability, because people sense institutional weakness, because audience are tired of curated narratives and want historical perspective. And maybe, subconsciously, we're looking at a Rome as a mirror. If a civilization that powerful could collapse under ego and internal fracture, what makes us immune? Psychology doesn't just explain history, it exposes us. In the 1960s, Stanley Milgram's obedience experiment showed that ordinary people, under quiet pressure of authority, will do things that they never imagined possible, even when their conscience screams otherwise. In those labs, every twitch of sweat and trembling hand revealed a conflict between morality and compulsion, between knowing what's right and obeying what's demanded. Roman built the Colosseum, a giant arena for spectacle and social control. Today, We call it basketball, football, and basketball arena. But structurally and psychologically, they serve a similar role in our culture. Thousands of eyes fixed on invented drama. The Latin phrase panem et circenses, bread and circuses, was a critic of distraction over civic engagement, and its modern echo is unmistakable. The tools change, the entertainment change, but the wiring beneath it all, our instinct towards obedience, spectacle, distraction, and moral blind spots, remain as ancient as the empire itself. And when you see that in yourself, not just in history villains, but in your own reflection, the silence that follows is louder than any crowd. Allow me to propose an idea. Hear me out. Maybe Rome never fell. It lives in our ambition, our fears, our blind obedience. Perhaps Rome never left at all. Imagine walking into a classroom in 1904 France. The teacher is worried. Some students are struggling to keep up and failing behind the lessons. The French government commissioned a test, not to crown geniuses, but to identify children who need extra help. Alfred Binet and Theodore-Simon create what became the first modern intelligence test. Intelligence isn't a single number. It's dynamic, nuanced, and shaped by experience. Fast forward to today, and the IQ tests are ubiquitous. The term intelligence quotient emerged in 1912 and by 1916. Lewis Terman at Stanford adapted Bennett's work into the Stanford-Binet scale, popularizing IQ testing across the United States. But the first large-scale use of intelligence testing in America came from World War I, and it was unprecedented. The U.S. Army faced over 1 million recruits with widely varying education and literacy levels. To manage this, psychologists developed the Army Alpha test for literate recruits and the Army Beta test for those who could not read or spoke limited English. These tests allowed the military to assess ability at scale and assign soldiers to roles suited for their cognitive strength for clerical work to combat. This wasn't just a military experiment, it was the first time in American history that intelligence testing was applied nationally, and it sent ripples far beyond the battlefield. Schools, employers, and government agencies quickly adapted similar approaches, believing that IQ scores could identify talent, assign roles, and shape policy decisions. Though the original alpha and beta tests were retired after the war, their legacy persists. Modern military assessments like the ASVAB traces their roots back to these tests, still measuring aptitude and cognitive ability to guide placement, a living echo of that first historic application. Yet at its core, as Bennett and Simon always emphasize, IQ was never meant to dictate destiny. It is a measure of potential, not a verdict on who a person will become. Intelligence grows, shifts, and is shaped by experience, environment, and effort, a complex living capacity that cannot be captured in a single number. Now, let me help you guys understand IQ, okay? Let me put numbers into perspective. IQ of 100 is the population's average. An IQ of 130 is often labeled as gifted, which represents roughly the top 2% of people, or 12 out of every 100 in your circle if you expand it globally. That's high, but it's not godlike. Think of IQ like a loaded instrument. It has power, potential, and impact, but it doesn't act on its own. Only your choices determine what happens next. Higher IQ correlates with faster learning, better abstract reasoning, and improved academic performances. Large longitudinal study, the Terman study, Scottish mental surveys, and U.S. National Longitudinal Survey consistently show that high IQ predicts higher probability of completing university, greater likelihood of entering cognitively demanding professions such as law, medicine, engineering, and academia. But the same studies show limits. Few high IQ children become world changing innovators. Two future Nobel Prize winners were actually rejected from the Terman study for not scoring high enough. In Lewis Terman's famous genetic studies of genius, he has set a high bar, roughly an IQ of 135 to include children deemed gifted. Yet two boys who took the test and didn't make the cut went on to reshape science. William Shockley, whose early test score was well below Terman's threshold, co-invented the transistor and won the 1956 Nobel Prize in Physics for the invention. Luis W. Alvarez, also excluded for not meeting the cutoff, later won the 1968 Nobel Prize in Physics for his work on the subatomic particles and insights into Earth's history. Their story illustrates a central truth. Early IQ test performance is not destiny, and brilliance can emerge even when standardized measures fail to catch it. And I say all that to say this: IQ predicts capacity, not creativity, drive, nor fortune. Now, I'm going to introduce you guys to this threshold effect. Here's where the nuance matters. IQ below 90. You may struggle with complex problem solving, reading comprehension, or abstract reasoning, but practical skills, hands on work, and persistence can still lead to success. Think of people who excel in trades, crafts, and everyday problem solving. Now, IQ of
90.
to 110, which is broad average. This is the range most of the population falls into. People manage work, school, and daily life competently. You can learn new skills, follow instruction, and succeed in most jobs. Teachers, nurses, managers, technicians all thrive in this range. Now, IQ between 110 to 120, you have an academic edge. You may grasp new concept faster, do well in exam, and handle complex tasks more easily. This is the range where many college students, engineers, or analytical professional falls into. Now, IQ between 120 plus, you're likely to do very well in cognitively demanding fields such as science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and also law, medicine, academia. You can learn quickly, see patterns others might miss, and solve problems efficiently. But here's the key: moving from 120 to 140 adds less to real world outcomes than discipline, persistence, and social skills do. Think about it like this: 140 IQ is like being born a natural sprinter. You're fast without trying, so you never learn to train. But a 120 IQ student, they are the weightlifters. They had to struggle, learn the technique, and show up to the gym every single day just to compete. When they both hit the mountain, the sprinter stops because they can't dash up a cliff. But the weightlifter, the ones who build muscles and train every day and who has climbed for years, they just keep going while the genius is still at the bottom, wondering how in the world did that person do that. But simply, going from IQ 100 to 120 can make a noticeable difference in learning and career prospect. Beyond 125, success increasingly depends on drive and persistence, the habits you cultivate, the risks you take, and of course, the relationships you build. Intelligence opened the door, but only your effort walks you through it. Think of it like this, okay? A staircase. IQ gives you the strength to climb, but willpower, opportunity, choices determine whether you reach the top floor or not. But if you skip the stairs and your ass is lazy and you take the elevator, you might get there faster, yet the strength you never used to build while doing it the hard way won't be there or show up when you need it. Now consider Gen Alpha and the AI era, a 2015 MIT Media Lab study. Your brain on ChatGPT tracks students writing essays. ChatGPT users wrote 60% faster, but mental effort dropped 32%. EEG scan shows neural connectivity nearly halved. 83% of AI assisted writers could not recall what they had written minutes later. Researchers call this cognitive debt. Outsourcing thinking erodes the mental pathways built by struggle and effort. Think of video games from the 1990s. There were no checkpoints, no YouTube tutorial to show you exactly how to complete the quest. A game could take hours, days, weeks, sometimes months just to beat the damn game. You couldn't save it midway or research strategies online. You had to experiment, fail, and figure it out on your own. The struggle trains your patience, problem solving, and mental resilience. Games today, they're just much easier. Walkthrough save points and guides to get you to victory fast. But the mental challenge, the effort that builds true skill, is gone. AI in Gen Alpha world can feel the same way. It delivers results quickly, but the muscles built by effort and persistence aren't exercised. Early signs suggest Gen Alpha may face flattened creativity and standardized thought, not because AI is inherently harmful, but because the mind loses its edge if never challenged. We see echoes of this in the reverse Flynn effects. After decades of rising IQ scores, global data indicates a plateau, a slight decline in younger demographic, conceding with the rise of smartphones and digital assistants. Cognitive ability is still present, but the exercise of it may be fading. Now, let's address a common myth. And this is what everyone came to see. Top billionaires like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Larry Page, and Mark Zuckerberg. Do we know their IQs? No, we don't. Publicly reported IQ numbers are unverified speculation. What researchers does show, IQ correlates with income, but only moderately. Statistically, it accounts for only roughly 4 to 16% of the difference of earnings between people. The rest, the vast majority, comes other factors like persistence, risk taking, and opportunity. Beyond cognitive competence, 115 to 120 IQ, wealth depends on timing, opportunity, risk, capital, social networks, and execution. And execution is important because you have to take action. High intelligence can help you navigate complex systems, but it does not guarantee who will own them. IQ gives you the strength to climb the stairs of success, but persistence, networks, and choices decide how far you reach. The studies converge on the truth. IQ matters, but only as one variable in a larger equation. Success equals cognitive ability, multiply conscious thoughts, multiply emotional regulation, and multiply opportunity. Ignore any one factor and outcome drops. IQ alone does not ensure wealth, happiness, creativity, nor leadership. High IQ without drive often results to underachievement, overthinking, and deep frustration. Conversely, a 115 IQ with grit, emotional stability, and discipline can outperform a 140 IQ drifting through life. So, what do we take away from this? IQ over 130 is rare, yes, but not extraordinary in real world achievements. High IQ predicts academic and professional potential, not guaranteed greatness. I have friends who are full of ideas, brilliant ideas, but they just sit there, paralyzed in thought. Nothing comes from it. Speaking of which, I actually have a friend who is incredibly wise, but he's never written a book before. I'm a published author myself, and I know firsthand that sharpening your craft takes discipline. 3 hours a day at the keyboard consistently. I'm a co author of a book called Creativity Over Capital, so I know a thing or two. He spends his time doing almost everything else except writing. And at the end of the day, action is the only thing that separates thinking from doing. And as he says, he wants to write a book. I can't help but think if he doesn't sit down and start doing it himself, AI may very well write his book for him. That is the deeper issue. The tools can produce pages, publish sentences, even structure arguments, yet it can't replace the cognitive strain that forges clarity, voice, and intellectual endurance. AI and modern tech may help you think faster, but skipping cognitive effort erodes the mind's capacity to grow. Wealth, innovation, and social impact are not disturbing by IQ alone, but by complex interplay and intelligence, persistence, opportunity, and risk. In other words, human potential is far more than a number. IQ is a map, not a destination. Your choices, your effort, and your environment determine the journey. The difference between 100 and 130 IQ may look larger on paper, but the true difference is how you climb the stairs, not just how strong your legs are.
Take me